we are over here at Reformation Charlotte, and there is an article that I haven't even had a chance to read it yet, but it's pretty telling. It says, following new affirmation of Rainbow Mafia, right? We got to get into everything. We got to be equal. We got to world dominate everything. Boy Scouts now file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And so far I've just read the title, and I looked at this picture with the males, the older males in authority, and the younger kids, and I had to kind of chuckle to myself that there is hope a little bit for American families, because there's a reason for why parents went, I am not participating in this. Why would you subject your children to a private, secluded scenario with older males? I think at the end of the day, most families don't trust. They don't trust that scenario. They don't want to victimize their children or hand their children over to entities that are making poor choices. Barraged by hundreds of sex abuse lawsuits. Shocker! The Boy Scouts of America filed for bankruptcy protection Tuesday in hopes of working out a potentially mammoth victim compensation plan that will allow the hallowed 110-year organization to carry on. How people would even trust that after the complete and utter lack of wisdom guiding that organization to kowtow to that group, and then to see the fruit and the output of more bad decision making. See, in my heart of hearts, I would have loved to have had my child do something like that, but instead we kept him home with us. And so there's, a slight amount of sadness there that he couldn't, go participate in those types of things. But in my heart of hearts, I know that it's better to protect him. And then you see situations like this where you literally see the bad guy forcing, ramrodding their way in. No, we have to be treated equal. World domination. And then they take advantage of children, which is absolutely satanic and disgusting. You already have a sin that is so serious, it is in such rebellion to the order of how God has designed the fabric of existence, have children and have man and woman together to have children, et cetera, et cetera. So you already have people demonstrating bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. And at the end of the day, who suffers? Who suffers? The money is probably on some level nice, but I bet you every one of these parents would much rather not have gained a cent out of it from the lawsuits and had their son's purity not being violated by some satanic, pushy, evil, can't control them. Not that they can't control themselves. They don't want to control themselves in these scenarios. Homosexual, pedo-chic, pedophilia-oriented entities that care nothing for the smallest and most impressionable among us, but would rather abuse, take over, and expose their poor little bodies to the potentiality for disease, spiritual suicide, emotional suicide, physical suicide, and create for these poor little children, these little baby boys, this pathway and trajectory of destruction. Because when you mess with children in that way, it tends to be the defining destructive element that will be with them forever, shaping them and their decisions for their life. And some people will bow out of the game of life, so to speak, because of this. But hey, as long as the Rainbow Mafia got their way, it's really important that they're treated equal. World domination. So to have Boy Scouts now go, well, we shouldn't have done that, and now all this money needs to come forth. It at least gives me hope that America, at least now, is like, no, I totally wouldn't trust that, because even though there is a price to pay for a certain loneliness factor, I don't trust the people who don't deserve my trust to put my son in their hands, which now he's a little old for it, but I'm talking about, years ago. I felt that guilt, or whatever you want to call it, that sadness that he couldn't go be part of that, because I couldn't trust that he would be well taken care of. And here is my proof that, yeah, people didn't do what they were supposed to, because a certain group of people had to whine and cry and throw a fit. But really, that was all just a big game. See, everything is laced in deception, it feels like, with these types of stories that, oh, I want my own way. No, it's really so they can just get your child in a vulnerable position and then harm them and hurt them and take advantage of them. And hey, if they end up bowing out of the game of life with a gunshot, doesn't hurt the perpetrator any. But this is how sin works. And then you have these churches, and they're like, we need to have Icon Church, we need to have pastors that have every opportunity to bring Rainbow Mafia pastors into our church and fully support this. Oh, because it works so well in all these other scenarios, this being one example. The prison system is another example, which I don't have time to get into that. But when you have people that stay engaged in sin, and there is a moral and ethical corruption that takes place within them, don't be surprised when more bad fruit comes out, is what I'm saying. And then you have the church that's like, hey, come bring your mess here. We think it's a really good idea. Hey, let's give them powerful authority around the church, which has children. There's another group I'm thinking of, Babylon Rome, who has consistently demonstrated their absolute denial of self-control and their satanic feelings and abuse that they perpetrate on children. So they've done it for a long time. They're still getting away with it. Why? People continue bringing their children to those places of supposed worship. Here, little Timmy, go with Father. What's his fit? No. Are you insane? But they keep doing it. They keep bringing their children there, and they keep putting money in the offering plate. Stop supporting it. And let's continue with this article here, because there's so much more that I could say. I'm happy to see and note that the AOG booted Icon Church out, and that's what needs to happen. And fortunately, well, a little later on, we'll do a story more in depth with that. But there was a great article about it over at Juicy Ecumenicism that detailed that. So way to go, AOC, because you're really drawing a line in the sand and saying you can come no further. And that's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen with the abuse of this type of sin, trying to be foisted upon society as something that is equal, world domination, and good and efficacious. And in all reality, it can birth this worse sin. I would tell you that that's actually going to go global. I'm going to tell you that there is an ecumenicism from Babylon Rome and Babylon Israel and Babylon Nar all together, who are trying to craft this one world church of a one world religion of all the religions. And it's all people, all the nations. That's code for all the people, inclusive, full inclusive. And this is why you have Rainbow Mafia being inserted into the Catholic Church, right? They're like, that's totally fine. That's not even a sin. Don't even worry about it. Come with us. And then why you have these absolute ludicrous, evil, disgusting change agent churches that are allowing for this stampede into their churches, and the vile parishioners that sit there and encourage it, nurture it, and bring it into being. God is not unintelligent. He made everything. And if he says that something is not good, there's a reason why he says it's not good. And this is the fruit of what happens when people ignore what God has said and they do their own thing. And in this inclusion that's coming, there is a element of substantiating evil and giving it license to flourish within this model from the UN and everything that I just said. That is Luciferian in nature. It is do your own will, do whatever you want. And hey, if it hurts people in the end, they don't care. Let's keep going with the article. Give them an inch and they'll take a mile. The Chapter 11 filing in federal bankruptcy. We've had a cat attack. Hold on. All right. I told you the child is sick today at home, so she wants to cuddle with all the cats, and you know how cats are. Cats have a limit. You will, Chris, whack, not hug me. Anyhow, see how decisive cats are when they don't like something, they just strike. But Americans and people, we just let it go and let it go and let it go, like the situation. So let's find out what happened here. The Chapter 11 filing in bankruptcy court in Wilmington, Delaware, sets in motion what could be one of the biggest, most complex bankruptcies ever seen. Scores of lawyers are seeking settlements on behalf of several thousand men who say that they were, this word right here. Can you see that on your phone? I mean, it goes along with the very topic we've been discussing. I don't want to say that word, though. As scouts by scoutmasters and other leaders in authority decades ago, but are only now eligible to sue because of recent changes in their state's statute of limitations laws. That's really weird. I was making things more difficult for the victim. Oh, wow. By going to bankruptcy court, the scouts can put those lawsuits on hold for now. But ultimately, they could be forced to sell off some of their vast property holdings, including campgrounds and hiking trails, to raise money for a compensation fund that could surpass $1 billion. See, they were totally negligent in protecting their brood of young, trusting boys, you know, while the Rainbow Mafia wanted to get in to be their authority in dark, hidden corners. Equality, world domination. Scouting programs will continue throughout this process and for many more years to come. Oh, I think that's a horrible idea, because somebody had to come along and puke all over it and ruin it, said Evan Roberts, a spokesman for the Scouts. How are you even associated with that group anymore? Local councils are not filing for bankruptcy because they are legally separate and distinct organizations. Maybe y'all have a little too much power. Maybe the wrong entities are getting all the power, and then abuses occur, and then people's lives are ruined. The Boy Scouts are just the latest major American institution to face a heavy price tag over not being able to, well, it's not that they can't control themselves, it's that they won't. Sexual abuse. Roman Catholic dioceses across the country and schools such as Penn State and Michigan State have paid out hundreds of millions of dollars in recent years. I'm thinking of scriptures all over the New Testament that literally communicate that is a sin, all sexual sin. Hold it in check. KeyTV.com or KETV.com. Okay, let's go down here. See what else is going on with this. Oh, this is where it gets spin doctored as something good and holy. The bankruptcy represents a painful turn for an organization that has been a pillar of American civil life for generations and a training ground for future leaders. I will withhold my comment on that. Achieving the rank of Eagle Scout has long been a proud accomplishment that politicians, business leaders, astronauts, and others put on their resumes and in their official biographies. Yikers. Oh, wow. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Lawyers representing 1,500 men sue on behalf of 8 former Boy Scouts for alleged abuse cover-up. So not only did they fail to protect them, but then they tried to whitewash it and make it go away. That's disgusting. The Boy Scouts' finances have been strained in recent years by declining membership and, wow, sex abuse settlements. The number of youths taking part in scouting has dropped below 2 million, down from more than 4 million. Oh, gee, I can't imagine why. In the peak years of the 70s, the organization has tried to counter the decline by admitting girls, but its membership rolls took a big hit. Well, shocker. Guess what? Guess what? We don't actually want our daughters being sexually violated any more than we want our sons. Shocker. When the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for decades a major sponsor of Boy Scout units. Did you know that? Cut ties. Oh, somebody had some good sense operating and withdrew more than 400,000 scouts in favor of programs of its own. So what you mean to tell me is that we have Mormons that believe they can become gods, that are unsaved religious entities that are not born again, that worship the devil. They do. Who have more sense to protect their youth than the Christians like Eikon Church, who's bringing them in and giving them positions of power and authority, and your president, by the way, also doing that. You now have a gay rainbow judge with lots of authority, and your government passed that sucker, and he's going to be in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. So the people that say they're Christians have less sense than the people who aren't Christians. That's what I'm supposed to get out of this. And then people come along and they leave me comments and say that I shouldn't criticize Eikon Church. Are you kidding me? They're like, I know what the scripture says, but I don't care, really, is what they're saying. The financial outlook had worsened last year, after New York, Arizona, New Jersey, and California passed laws making it easier for victims of long ago abuse to file claims. Teams of lawyers across the U.S. have been signing up signing up clients by the hundreds to sue Boy Scouts. When it's long-term like that, how do you prove that? I wonder how that works. Most of the newly surfacing cases date to, the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So, in other words, people have been taking advantage of this scenario where they ought not to be trusted. This was way before even Rainbow Mafia came along and said, we need to be part of your leadership. You can't discriminate against us. I don't remember what year that happened in, but even before that organized moment in time, there were demonic-oriented people going, I'd love to get into this position of authority in the dark with your children, and then abuse the heck out of them. So glad I listened to my instinct as a mother. So glad for that.
Yep, he's my mother, and also my brother's mother.
Yep.
We're wondering, yes, I have a brother.
Yeah, they know. I don't think they can hear you. She's telling you that she has a brother. That is my son.
In the comments if you can hear me.
I don't know that they can hear you. But we all hope you feel better. Okay, so all this damage is done. The Boy Scouts credit. I know. I told them that the cat hit you. The boy. Yes. Cats don't like to be cuddled all the time. But we will get through it together. Yes, the other cat is being nice and passive and cuddling. You need to go boy. But anyhow, back to our article here.
This family loves cats.
They know. This family loves cats. Okay, back to the article. The Boy Scouts credit the change to an array of prevention policies adopted since the mid-1980s, including mandatory criminal background checks and abuse prevention training for all staff and volunteers, and a rule that 2 or more leaders must be present during all activities. You think? In many ways, the crisis parallels the one facing the Catholic Church in the U.S. Didn't I just say that? They said it a little better. Both institutions boast of a major progress over recent decades in combating abuse, whether by priests or scout leaders, but both face many lawsuits alleging negligence and cover-ups. I just said that, mostly decades ago. So you mean people have sinful natures and they totally act on those sinful natures and they put their own selfish interests above that of other people and they obtain a moment of gratification at the expense of destroying the children who are trusting them? And that's just part of human nature, and that's why Christ comes, and that's why we're told to have a hard line on people getting reborn and having their sins forgiven and allowing the process of the Holy Spirit entering the human temple where he starts working on those hearts and they change. That's what God is doing. And ultimately, total change will happen at glorification. But see, Satan doesn't want that to happen. That's why you have this rainbow mafia crying for equal rights and trying to get in and infect everything. And the evil Christian turncoat leaders that are assisting that process. So it's really just evil Luciferians pretending to be Christians. That's what it is. Among the matters to be addressed in the bankruptcy court, the fate of the Boy Scouts' assets, the extent to which the organization's insurance will help cover compensation, and whether assets of the Scouts, more than 260 local councils, will be added to the fund. No words, just no words for the total abuse of people's trust. Families, children, right? Don't sit there and tell them all that Boy Scout nonsense where it looks like you're adding value into their life and their different little sayings and all that stuff, when in all reality, you're just waiting for your moment to pounce. That's really disgusting. Children are to be loved and nurtured and cared for, not used and abused. And hurt people will become hurt people that go out and hurt people outside of Jesus Christ. So when you control yourself, you are setting in motion a level of protection that causes another good trajectory potential with those around you. But see, Satan doesn't want that. No. Satan wants to destroy all of God's stuff, and he's good at it. And when you help him, you're going to share in his same fate. I hope that makes sense. When we control ourselves, then it can have a good impact on others, their choices in their life. And God would like everybody to repent, but most people do not. So our actions matter. They go somewhere, which really all that stands in the face of the constant narrative that you hear of the Rainbow Mafia ever pushing for their equality. They have an agenda. There are a lot of very angry and resentful men out there. Why? I can't imagine why. Who will not allow the Boy Scouts to get away without saying what all their assets are, says this lawyer, Moniz, who represents numerous clients suing the BSA. They want no stone unturned. I mean, I just don't have much to say about that. I get it. I don't know what money can do, but I guess if you're limited in what you can get, that, I don't know. I don't even want to talk about that. I have nothing to say about that. I just feel so bad for these people. But do I think Boy Scouts should be able to retain anything? No. Amid the crush of lawsuits, the Scouts recently mortgaged their major properties owned by the national leadership, including the headquarters in Irving, Texas, and a 140,000-acre Philmont Ranch in New Mexico to help secure a line of credit. Oh, wow. See, did you even know that they had their hands on that kind of money? I didn't even know. And then they talk about, oh, wow, founded in 1910, the Boy Scouts have kept confidential files since the 1920s listing staff and volunteers implicated in this topic of abuse that we're discussing for the avowed purpose of keeping predators away from youth. Wow. According to a court deposition, the files as of January listed 7,819 suspected abusers. Take that number in. Wow. Almost 8,000 suspected. Wow. And 12,254 victims. And that's just who's come forward. There's some people that probably blew their brains. Well, you know. We're victims and nobody ever knew. We'll just leave it at that. Poor babies. Until last spring, the organization had insisted it never knowingly allowed a predator to work with the youth. But in May, the Associated Press reported that attorneys for abuse victims had identified multiple cases in which known predators were allowed to return to leadership posts. Are you kidding me? Wow. Oh, I'd say take every penny they have. That is absolutely vile. The next day, Boy Scouts chief executive Mike Bow wrote to a congressional committee acknowledging the group's previous claim was untrue. Oh, deny. Whoa. So this entity here, Houston, among many other men suing for the same topic, says that they were blah, 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 blah by a scout leader over the course of several months. Oh, honey. And when you're a child, you don't know how to fight back. You don't know how to, you just trust that the people around you aren't psychopaths. But they are. That's the Bible tells you this. A kingdom of darkness, a kingdom of evil, a kingdom of selfishness. When these people tell you that mankind is basically good, don't believe them. There's something wrong with humanity. Now, not everybody does this, but of those who do, it's awful. My daughter is working on getting scratched by the second cat if she doesn't let him go. The next day, Boy Scouts chief executive, oh no, I said that, I'm sorry. It's a shame because at its core, it is supposed to be a beautiful organization. I will keep that thought to myself. But, anything can be corrupted. Oh, well, that's why you have safeties and practices in place, a system of checks and balances. Or, maybe you don't go there. Maybe you don't trust these adult walking, male organs to your children. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, you know how I suggest that we take effective preventative measures? Don't let your children be trusted with these vipers. Illustrating the depths of its problems, the organization in 2018 sued 6 of its insurers for refusing to cover its, this word, abuse liabilities. Wow. The insurers said that the obligation was void because of the scouts refused to release the animal. Effective preventative measures such as warning parents, oh my word, that their boys might be abused. Wow. I mean, how uncomfortable is that, right? Oh, the cat that never hisses ever. I've only heard him hiss like 3 times in 11 years. She just made him hiss. He's like the sweetest, most passive cat in the world. My cat is better than Rainbow Mafia pedophiles in Cub Scouts. What do you think of that?
I always want him because I love him so much, and I just
So I think that's about it with the article. Yeah, we live in a world of evil, and don't count on other people to protect your children for you because they probably won't. You protect your children. Don't keep them so ignorant that they don't know there's a world of evil out there. Yet you don't need to fill them in on like every grievous detail either. There's balance there. Make them strong in the Lord. Let them know that there is a world of evil out there. When you keep there, see, there's an old vein in Christian thought that you don't tell them nothing, man. You keep them as ignorant as possible, which makes them a great target. I don't think that's a good idea. But I also don't think you should like live like some people where they tell their kids everything. Make them super wise in the Lord and to know that there's a world of darkness and evil out there, and teach and you know, if you cooperate in the process of making it as hard as possible for the bad guys, you reduce the chances of your child being one of those statistics, one of those broken hearts, one of those broken lives. And I'm not saying that you can always prevent everything, but I'm saying you can reduce your chances significantly. So how horrible of these people and what they have had to be put through because of someone else's selfish, evil, disgusting, unrepentant, unredeemed, digging their heels in type of lifestyles that manifest in all kinds of ways. And can you see why God has ultimate hell to punish people that stay in unbelief? Because he died for all the sins except sustained unbelief and rejection and insubordination. It makes sense. God is going to punish evil. While we wait for that, we have to try to protect our children from evil, not send them into it. And stop trusting everybody. I don't understand why people trust everybody so much. You just give your trust away to people that haven't even earned it. My goodness. Nobody will love and protect your children better than you. Anyhow, thank you so much. God bless you. Bye.